picture this. You've just stepped off this weathered wooden long-tail boat.
Oh, yeah, the classic arrival.
Right. And the water is perfectly clear. It's lapping gently against this powder white sand that hasn't been, raked over by some resort tractor.
The untouched ideal.
Exactly. You drop your battered canvas backpack on the beach, you crack open a lukewarm local beer that cost you literally pennies, and you just look up at this thick, untouched jungle canopy.
Sounds perfect.
I mean, you're living on $5 a day, sleeping in a basic bamboo hut that kind of shifts in the wind, and you're surrounded by people who are all on this collective, unspoken mission to, find themselves far away from the corporate grind.
Mm-hmm. The classic story.
It is the quintessential intoxicating 1990s Southeast Asian backpacker dream. It's that exact romantic image, that worn-out paperback novel aesthetic that has sold millions of plane tickets over the last 3 decades.
Yeah, it really has.
And here is the harsh truth. It is a complete and total illusion.
Completely dead.
Exactly. That version of Ko Pha Ngan, Thailand, is entirely dead. When you step off the ferry into the blinding, oppressive heat of 2026, you are not walking into a carefree bohemian utopia.
Far from it.
You're walking into a fiercely segmented, heavily gentrified, violently two-tier economy.
Yeah, it is a profoundly jarring awakening for a lot of people.
It really is.
Because the gap between the heavily filtered, nostalgic marketing of this island-like, the stuff you see romanticized in travel vlogs and on social media, and the actual boots-on-the-ground reality of 2026 is wider than it has ever been in the entire history of Southeast Asian tourism.
And bridging that massive gap is basically the entire mission of today's deep dive.
Right.
Because we have gotten our hands on this incredibly detailed, comprehensive dossier of travel research compiled by logisticians and lived experience travelers.
It's an amazing data set.
It really is. We're specifically drawing from the hard, localized data gathered by researchers Phil and H, and we are going to unpack their findings today.
And we should clarify, we're not just going to, give you a list of prices.
No, definitely not. Our goal today is to arm you with the absolute ground truth. Whether you are, a digital nomad looking to set up a 6-month base of operations, or a budget backpacker trying to stretch every single baht, or even someone seeking a high-end luxury tropical escape, you really need to understand the mechanics of this island.
Absolutely. Because right now, Ko Pha Ngan might just be the single most misunderstood piece of geography in all of Thailand.
So true.
We really need to emphasize the why here, I think.
Yeah.
Why does this specific updated knowledge matter to you, the listener, right now?
Yeah, why should they care?
Well, if you are planning a trip to the Gulf of Thailand, you just cannot rely on advice from 5 years ago, let alone 10.
Oh, 10 years ago is a completely different universe.
Literally. Ko Pha Ngan is no longer a single unified destination. It is completely fractured. It effectively operates as this microcosm of global gentrification, which has been driven intensely by tech workers and crypto traders who, moved in during the last few years.
Yeah, the demographic shift has been wild.
It really has. And it's become a place where choosing the wrong neighborhood to book your accommodation or arriving in the wrong month will not just lead to a slightly disappointing vacation where, it rains a bit.
Right.
It will actively bankrupt your trip.
Which is terrifying.
It is. You are walking into a landscape of hyper-inflated localized prices, severe logistical traps, and literally cartel-controlled transport.
Wow.
And if you do not know the unspoken rules of this economic game before you arrive, the island will make those rules very clear to you very quickly.
And usually at a massive financial cost.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly understand the mechanics of this island, you really have to survive the arrival first.
Yeah, the arrival is the crucible.
It is. We need to move away from the macro-level economics for a second and zoom straight down into the literal first 3 minutes on the ground.
Put them right on the pier.
Let's put you in the scenario. You have just survived the ferry ride across the Gulf. You are stepping onto the concrete at Thong Sala Pier, and that romantic illusion we just talked about, this is where it dies.
Yeah, the sensory overload of that exact moment is basically engineered to overwhelm you.
Oh, absolutely.
It is immediate, and it is incredibly heavy. Before you even have both feet on the pier, you are wrapped in this suffocating, humid mix of raw diesel exhaust, billowing from those massive Lamprey catamaran engines.
Ugh, that smell.
Right, mixed with the thick, heavy smell of salt and, honestly, the collective sweat of hundreds of other disoriented travelers who have just been baking in the sun.
And right as your brain is trying to process all that heat and orient your sense of direction, you hit the wall.
The taxi wall?
It is a literal wall of screaming taxi touts.
Yeah.
They are shoving laminated maps directly into your personal space, shouting over each other, trying to herd you toward their specific pickup trucks.
It's intense. It is designed chaos.
That's a great way to put it.
Because it's psychological pressure, you know? It's meant to make you just hand over your money out of sheer exhaustion so you can escape the noise.
It's a complete gauntlet. And surviving that pier is really just the kickoff to what the researchers beautifully describe as the 24-hour psychological arc of Ko Pha Ngan.
I love this framework.
Me too, because it perfectly maps out the cognitive dissonance every single traveler experiences here. It's almost like the stages of grief, but applied strictly to your travel expectation.
Right, so the first phase of that arc is just pure, unfiltered euphoria.
Oh, the honeymoon phase.
Exactly. You finally push through the touts, you get to your room, you drop your bags. You're sitting out on a wooden deck holding a freezing cold, freshly cracked coconut.
Sounds amazing.
It is. The Gulf water in front of you is impossibly warm. You are looking out at these dramatic, sweeping jungle canopies, and your brain is just flooded with dopamine. In that brief window, you're completely convinced you found paradise. You think, I made it. I beat the system.
But paradise requires logistics.
Always does.
And that's when the euphoria crashes headfirst into reality. You decide, hey, I need to go get lunch, or maybe you just want to explore a bit. So you rent a scooter and you head down the main Ban Thai road for the very first time.
Oh, no.
And the dopamine vanishes instantly. This is the logistical friction phase.
Yeah, it hits hard.
Suddenly, you aren't looking at jungle canopies anymore. You are staring hyper-intently at the asphalt, dodging these massive rim-destroying potholes.
They are craters.
Literally. And aggressive, lifted pickup trucks are riding inches from your rear tire. Stray dogs are darting out from the shadows of the roadside stalls.
It's terrifying.
And you have this cold sweat realization that the island is vastly larger, much steeper, and significantly more dangerous than that cute little cartoon walking map suggested.
And that physical stress naturally bleeds right into the third phase, which is the financial shock.
Right.
You survive the Ban Thai road, you're exhausted, your adrenaline is spiking, and you just want a comfortable place to eat.
Just a nice meal.
So you spot a beautifully curated, Western-style beachfront cafe. It looks safe. It looks like the photos you saw online. You sit down at a polished bamboo table. You open the menu, and you realize you are being charged 400 Thai baht, which is roughly 11 or 12 US dollars for a basic salad.
Wow.
In a country that is globally famous for dollar street food, you're suddenly paying London or Sydney prices for a bowl of lettuce, simply because it's served in a photogenic environment.
But I think that financial shock is actually a necessary trauma.
How so?
Because it forces the final stage of the arc, recalibration.
Ah, right.
You look at that 400 baht salad, you stand up and you just walk away.
Yeah.
You wander down a side street until you find a local Thai restaurant. It has cheap plastic chairs, harsh fluorescent lighting, maybe a stray cat sleeping in the corner.
The real deal.
Exactly. You sit down and you eat an absolutely brilliant, complex, life-changing green curry for 80 baht.
So good.
And in that moment, you accept it. You accept the island's rules. But that raises a massive question for me. If that first 24 hours is this jarring, how exactly is the island physically divided up? Because it sounds like if you book a hotel in the wrong zip code, you're just locking yourself into the 400 baht salad reality without any means of escape.
You are. You absolutely are. The geography of Ko Pha Ngan isn't just about beaches and mountains anymore. It is a literal economic map.
Right.
The island is heavily fractured into 3 distinct zones, and the cultures of these zones basically do not interact.
Yep, all.
Barely at all. Let's start with the south. Hadrin.
Okay.
This is the decaying relic of the island's party era. If you walk down the narrow streets of Hadrin today, it permanently smells of stale beer, cheap sun cream, and old frying oil.
Gross.
Yeah. The entire infrastructure of this peninsula was built around one singular event, the full moon party.
So it's basically the ultimate boom and bust economy playing out every 28 days.
Exactly.
And the accommodation entirely reflects that transient party culture, right?
Yeah, heavily.
You have rows of these basic backpacker dorms for around 400 baht a night, or about $11.50 USD. Even the mid-range, air-conditioned rooms sit around 1,500 baht.
Pretty cheap.
But the trap here, and the tourism boards, they go out of their way to hide this, is what happens during the other 25 days of the month.
Yeah, the Hadrin trap is devastating for a first-time visitor. If you unknowingly book a hotel down there outside of the actual full moon week, you are isolating yourself in an absolute ghost town.
Really? Just empty.
It is deeply eerie. You are walking past endless rows of closed tattoo parlors, shuttered bucket stands, and empty bars with stacked chairs.
Whoa.
The economic whiplash for the locals running those businesses must be exhausting.
Okay.
But as a traveler, you are totally cut off from the actual living communities up north.
And wait, it actually gets worse.
Oh, yeah?
Because even though the town is empty, the few beach bars that do stay open operate on pure muscle memory.
Oh, no.
They will blast aggressive, bass-heavy EDM music that will literally rattle the glass in your hotel windows until 6:00 a.m.
That sounds miserable.
It does not matter if there are 5,000 people on the beach or literally 5 people standing around a fire. They play the music at stadium volume.
Right.
You are getting all the auditory punishment of a mega festival with none of the actual party.
That's rough. So if Hadrin is the ghost town of parties past, travelers naturally look for the alternative.
Right.
And that brings us to the northwest. Shrathanu and Hinkon.
The bubble.
Yes. This is the highly curated wellness and digital nomad bubble. The sensory shift when you cross into this district is insane.
Like night and day.
Completely. You go from the smell of stale beer and exhaust to the scent of burning Palo Santo, frangipani flowers, and expensive, freshly ground espresso.
Oh, wow.
But this bubble operates on a very specific economic engine. The researchers identified it clearly. They call it the yoga tax.
The yoga tax is fascinating because it really shows how quickly an aesthetic can gentrify a supply chain.
Yeah.
The moment you cross the district line into Shrathanu, the price of a standard bottle of water or a basic plate of pad thai just triples.
Instantly.
Why? Not because the ingredients are different, but because the menus are printed in a minimalist English font on recycled artisanal paper.
Right, the vibe.
The environment demands a premium. You are quite literally paying for the font and the driftwood decor.
And the accommodation prices in the Northwest mirror this localized hyperinflation perfectly.
Let's hear the numbers.
A basic fan room, meaning a room with no air conditioning, just a ceiling fan pushing hot air around, starts at 800 baht.
Okay.
Mid-range bumps up to 3,000 baht. And the luxury villas being built for the crypto demographic easily hit 10,000 baht a night.
That is a massive jump.
It is. And there is a very specific data-backed warning we need to issue for this zone. You had to be highly skeptical of spiritual marketing.
Yes, the spiritual washing.
Exactly. Many properties brand themselves as exclusive mindful retreats, but when you actually arrive, you realize you're paying a 50% markup for a standard concrete room that just happens to have a cheap yoga mat rolled up in the corner and a Buddha statue in the lobby.
It's all marketing. Which brings us to the third distinct zone, the Northeast. Thong Nai Pan.
The exile.
Right. This isn't a wellness bubble. This is a luxury exile, total, absolute isolation. If you are a backpacker or a mid-range traveler, you shouldn't even look at a map of this area. There are zero budget options.
Zero.
None. A mid-range room simply starts at 4,500 baht, and the true luxury resorts, places like Santhia or Anantara with their incredible cliffside teak architecture, will run you 15,000 baht and up.
Wow.
That's over 425 USD a night.
Yeah, but the trade-off is that you are buying the best natural environment on the entire island.
True.
Because of the geographic shielding over there, you get the absolute cleanest, most consistently swimmable beaches. But the trap here is geographical captivity. You are separated from the main island hubs by 40 minutes of incredibly steep, winding, treacherous mountain roads.
So you're stuck.
You are physically trapped at your resort.
But wait, if you're paying $400 a night, is being trapped really a problem? I mean, you have room service and infinity pools.
Well, it becomes a problem because of captive audience economics.
Right.
Since popping down to a local night market in Thongsala is a major, somewhat dangerous logistical expedition, you are forced to eat resort-priced food for every single meal.
Oh, that adds up.
Fast. That $425 a night easily doubles when you factor in a captive dining market.
It's a total economic terraforming of the island.
Absolutely.
But simply knowing that the Northwest is where you want to be or the Northeast is where you want to hide doesn't actually help you if you can't physically get there.
Exactly. You have to move around.
And the geographical divide on this island is enforced by a very real, very aggressive transport monopoly. We have to talk about cartels, extortion, and the raw mechanics of surviving the logistics here.
Yeah, this is crucial.
Because getting around introduces you to a whole new level of predatory behavior. Let's go back to how you even touch down. The island has no airport, which seems like a charming feature, right?
It seems charming until you realize that the lack of an airport creates an impenetrable ferry monopoly. Because you can't fly in, all access to the island is controlled by just two major marine operators, Lomprea and Seatran.
They own it all.
They own the piers, they own the routes, and because they hold this absolute monopoly on arrivals and departures, they charge a premium that is staggering.
You're bad, is it?
A short, one-hour ferry ride to the island will often exceed the cost of a 2-hour domestic budget airline flight from Bangkok down to the mainland at Surat Thani.
That is insane.
You are being taxed heavily just for the privilege of crossing the water.
And when you do cross the water and step on the pier, the localized cartel takes over.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the songthos. These are the modified pickup trucks with a metal roof and 2 benches in the back that act as the island's shared taxis.
Right.
They operate as a strict, localized mafia. The immediate trap is that a driver will look you dead in the eye and demand 300 loves, about $8.50 USD per person, to drive you just 5 kilometers down a flat road to Bantai.
And the pricing disparity there is wild.
Really wild.
To put that 300 baht into perspective, that exact same amount of money would buy you a 45-minute ride in a premium air-conditioned grab car, the Southeast Asian equivalent of Uber navigating straight through the dense, sprawling heart of downtown Bangkok.
Yep.
On Ko Pha Ngan, that same money buys you 10 minutes sweating on a hard metal bench in the back of a truck, breathing exhaust fumes.
Which naturally makes you ask, why doesn't Grab exist here? Why hasn't a tech company disrupted this?
Geographic bottlenecking and local enforcement. The taxi cartel here is a tight-knit community organization. If an independent driver tried to operate a Grab car on the island, they would be physically blocked from picking up passengers at the pier or the major beaches.
So they just ice them out.
Completely.
Yeah.
Cartel controls the infrastructure, so the tech disruption simply isn't allowed to take root.
So as a smart traveler, you say, forget that. I'm not playing this game. I'm renting my own wheels.
A logical next step.
Right. The classic budget move is to walk right past that wall of screaming taxi touts at the pier, walk about 10 minutes down the road into Thong Sala town, and bypass the cartel entirely. You can rent a standard 125cc scooter for exactly 250 baht a day. It is literally cheaper to rent a vehicle for 24 hours than it is to take a single 5-kilometer taxi ride.
It sounds like the ultimate travel hack.
It does. But this introduces the most infamous, emotionally devastating trap on the entire island.
Oh boy.
The scooter dilemma and passport extortion.
This is a scam that catches incredibly smart, highly seasoned travelers off guard every single day.
Every day.
The mechanics of it are brilliant in a very malicious way. When you walk into those pierside rental shops, the owner will smile, offer you a great daily rate, and then absolutely demand your physical passport to hold as collateral for the scooter.
Yeah.
They won't take a photocopy. They won't take a driver's license. They want the actual physical book.
And you think, okay, this is just standard practice in developing nations. You hand it over. You have a great 4 days exploring the beaches. Then, on your final morning, you go to return the bike.
And that is exactly when the trap springs.
Yep.
The shop owner's demeanor changes instantly. They will walk around the scooter, crouch down, run their finger along the exhaust pipe or the undercarriage, and point to a microscopic, pre-existing scratch.
That was probably there for years.
Exactly. And they will look at you and demand $5,000 baht, about $140 USD, in hard cash for the damage.
It's awful.
And here is why this works so effectively. It is engineered, weaponized helplessness.
Right.
Think about the psychological state you are in. You are standing on the side of a dusty road. It's 35 degrees Celsius. You are sweating. Your ferry back to the mainland leaves in 2 hours, and you have a connecting flight to catch in Bangkok.
The clock is ticking.
And the shop owner is holding your passport in their hand. Without that little book, you legally cannot leave the country.
And people always say, just call the police. But the lived experience data shows that is a terrible idea, right?
It's a terrible idea because the local police will almost universally side with the local shop owner.
Really?
Yeah. From their perspective, it's a civil dispute over property damage, and the tourist is the wealthy foreigner trying to skip out on a bill. You are entirely cornered. You have zero leverage.
So what happens?
So 99% of people just go to the ATM, pull out the $140, hand it over in tears, and run to catch their ferry.
It is pure extortion. So how do we beat this?
The researchers laid out a very rigid protocol.
Right. To dismantle the scam before it starts. I'll walk through the first part. Step 1. Never, under any circumstances, hand over your physical passport.
Never.
Offer them a cash deposit instead. The going rate is usually 3,000 baht, or about $100 USD. If the owner refuses the cash and insists on the passport, you don't argue. You just turn around and walk away.
Exactly.
There are dozens of other rental shops on the same street. Somebody will take the cash.
Exactly. And step 2 is where you build your defense. When you find a shop that accepts the cash deposit, before you even put the key in the ignition, you take out your smartphone. You start recording a slow, continuous, unbroken 4K resolution video of the entire scooter. You get uncomfortably close. You film every panel, every mirror, the exhaust pipe, the rims, the undercarriage.
Everything.
And crucially, this is the psychological countermeasure. You make absolutely sure the shop owner's face is clearly visible in the background of that video while you are filming the pre-existing scratches.
You are leaving zero room for ambiguity. When you return that bike and they try to point to a scratch, you pull out the video, show them their own face standing next to the scratch from 4 days ago, and the extortion attempt evaporates immediately.
They know they've been beat.
Right. They hand you your cash deposit back and you walk away.
It's the only foolproof method to protect yourself. But here's where it gets really interesting. The extortion on this island doesn't stop when you secure a scooter. The researchers identified that the transport traps actually get exponentially worse when the sun goes down.
Let's talk about the nighttime traps, starting with the rainy night tax.
Oh, this one is brutal.
It is a harsh, immediate lesson in the weaponization of supply and demand. Imagine you are out at a restaurant on the south side of the island, and the sudden monsoon rain starts dumping down. The roads turn slick, visibility drops to zero, and you cannot safely ride your scooter home. You are forced to take a taxi.
Right.
The cartel knows this. The exact moment the first drop of rain hits the pavement, the price for a ride across the island becomes a mandatory, non-negotiable 500 baht.
You have no leverage.
None.
You pay the 500 baht or you sit in a restaurant until 2 a.m. waiting for the rain to stop. That single rainy truck ride will cost you the equivalent of feeding yourself at a night market for 3 straight days.
And then there is the absolute peak of transport misery on Ko Pha Ngan, the full moon commute extortion.
This is legendary.
Let's say you are staying up in the beautiful, quiet wellness bubble in the Northwest. But it's a full moon, and you decide you want to go down south to see the famous party, just to say you did it.
Sure.
You figure you'll just grab a taxi around 10:00 p.m. But the cartel knows that every single tourist on the entire island is trying to move in one singular direction. It creates a massive geographic bottleneck.
Yeah, and what happens next is genuinely dangerous.
Very.
The drivers will pack 12, sometimes 14, profusely sweating people into the back of a single pickup truck.
In a truck made for 8.
Right. They will demand the 500 baht per person up front in cash. And they will flat out refuse to put the truck in gear until the back is dangerously overloaded. You are paying luxury transport prices to hang off the back of a bumper.
You are squeezed thigh to thigh with strangers, smelling burning clutch as the truck grinds up these terrifying 20-degree mountain inclines in the pitch dark.
It's awful.
You're praying the brakes don't fail. And the absolute worst part is the psychological realization that at 3 a.m., when you are exhausted, dehydrated, and just want to go to sleep, you have to fight a crowd of thousands to do the exact same dangerous commute in reverse.
It is a nightmare scenario that ruins the night for countless people.
Absolutely.
But the researchers found a brilliant, elegant workaround.
I love this hack.
If you are staying in the north and want to go to the party, do not rely on the road taxis at all. Abandon the road network entirely.
What do you do?
You pre-book a speedboat transfer directly from one of the northern resort beaches down to the sand at Ha Drin.
Wow.
It costs about 800 baht, which is obviously a premium, but it completely bypasses the mountain passes. It drops you right on the beach, and most importantly, it gives you a guaranteed prearranged extraction time at 2:00 or 3:12 a.m.
But I do want to throw a massive caveat in here. That speedboat hack is entirely contingent on the marine weather.
Oh, for sure.
If the sea state is rough, if the wind kicks up and the chop gets over 1 meter high, those boats will not run. It's too dangerous to land them on the beach in the dark.
Yeah, safety first.
Which is actually the perfect pivot.
Yeah.
Because all of this logistical planning, the scooter videos, the cartel dodging, the speedboat bookings, none of it matters if the island is underwater. We have to talk about the chronological traps, the weather game.
This is where so many perfectly planned trips just fall apart.
Totally.
A tourist will look at a generic weather app for Thailand, See that the rainy season on the Andaman coast, places like Phuket, ends in October, and they just assume that applies to Ko Pha Ngan.
Big mistake.
It is a critical trip-ruining error. The Gulf of Thailand possesses a highly unique, localized microclimate. The weather patterns here are almost the exact inverse of the rest of the country.
And the biggest trap you can fall into because of that misunderstanding is the monsoon trap, which hits with absolute fury right in November and early December.
It's brutal.
And when we use the word monsoon, we really need to define what that means here. We are not talking about a cozy, romantic afternoon shower that cools the air down so you can sit on your porch and read a book.
Not at all.
We are talking about upwards of 400 millimeters of rain in a matter of days.
Yeah, it is a violent, relentless deluge. It means the Gulf turns into a washing machine, and those vital ferry services we talked about get suspended for days at a time.
So you're stuck again.
Right. The steep mountain roads literally wash out, turning into rivers of red clay, becoming completely impassable. The humidity and dampness become so absolute, so pervasive, that if you are staying in a cheap, poorly ventilated budget bungalow, black mold will actually start blooming on the walls within 48 hours.
That is disgusting. You will be physically trapped inside a dark, damp room, eating instant noodles you bought from the 7-Eleven down the street, just watching the rain hammer the glass.
Yeah.
Now, yes, the accommodation prices dropped by 50% during November. It looks like an incredible deal online. But the lived experience data is clear. It is a profoundly miserable experience. You are paying half price to be a prisoner in your room.
Contrast that November misery with the peak season trap, which runs from mid-December through March.
Right.
The monsoons finally blow out, the weather clears up, the humidity drops, and the island looks spectacular. But the consequence is that the crowd density instantly spikes to 95% of the island's capacity.
It's packed.
And the prices surge by 80 to 100% across the board.
But the real failure point of the peak season isn't just the financial cost, it's the logistical breakdown.
Exactly.
The island's infrastructure simply cannot handle 95% capacity. If you arrive in January and you haven't pre-booked a scooter months in advance, you will physically not find a reliable bike to rent.
They're all gone.
Every decent scooter on the island is spoken for, which means you are instantly, forcefully pushed back into total reliance on that predatory taxi mafia we just dissected.
Which brings us to the holy grail of Ko Pha Ngan travel, the secret season.
Yes, the golden window.
According to the data compiled by Phil and H, this incredibly narrow window falls in late May through the end of June.
Okay.
The economics and the environment align perfectly. Prices drop by 40% from their peak season highs. The crowd density falls back down to a really comfortable 50%.
That sounds ideal.
You do get these short, incredibly dramatic evening storms that roll in, dump rain for an hour, and clear the air, but otherwise the ocean is flat, glass-like water.
Wow.
The beaches actually have breathing room. You don't have to fight for a spot on the sand. The local restaurant owners aren't overwhelmed and stressed. They actually have the time and energy to sit down and talk with you. It is the absolute optimal window for value and experience.
But wait, I have to challenge this based on the rest of the region.
Pay for it.
If you look at the climate of Southeast Asia, April and May are notorious for being the absolute peak of the oppressive, unbearable hot season.
Very true.
The air feels like an oven. Isn't going to a tropical Thai island in May just asking for a severe heat stroke?
It's a completely logical assumption, but this is where understanding that specific Gulf microclimate works entirely in your favor.
Okay.
Yes, April sees the absolute peak of the dry, punishing heat, and ironically, prices spike then anyway because of the nationwide Songkran Water Festival.
Right, the water fights.
But as you move into the latter half of May, the wind patterns shift. The intense heat actually begins to break, the air becomes breathable again, and the prices drop by 20% because the domestic tourism clears out.
Ah, I see.
This specific transitional cooling period is what paves the way for that perfect, balanced June sweet spot.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's finish that rapid-fire breakdown of the calendar so people know exactly what they're booking. What about July and August?
July and August actually see a strange secondary mid-year surge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the crowd density jumps right back to high and prices increase by 10 to 30%. This isn't driven by weather. It is driven entirely by the European summer holiday market.
Makes sense.
Entire families from France, Germany, and Italy descend on the island. Then, as you move into September and October, the winds change again, the rains begin to build, prices drop by 30 to 40%, and you are led right back into the teeth of that November monsoon trap.
Knowing exactly when to book is literally a superpower here. It dictates your entire reality.
It really does.
So let's assume our listener has used this data. They booked the perfect window in June. They negotiated the cash deposit and safely secured a scooter without giving up their passport. They are ready to actually live on the island.
The fun part.
Exactly. We need to transition into the day-to-day burn rate. What does it actually cost to sustain yourself, calorically and culturally, here in 2026? Because the food scene, exactly like the geography we mapped out earlier, operates on two totally separate, non-intersecting tracks.
It really is a tale of two distinct economies operating side by side but miles apart in philosophy.
Yeah.
Track one is the foundational local Thai economy. This is best represented by places like the Phantip Night Market in the center of town.
I love that place.
It's amazing. The aesthetic here is purely functional, bordering on industrial. You are sitting on small plastic stools under harsh fluorescent tube lights, surrounded by stainless steel carts and the roar of propane burners.
The real atmosphere.
But the culinary value is staggering. You can get an incredibly complex, spicy plate of pad krapao holy basil stir-fry with a fried egg for 80 baht.
Wow.
You can get fresh, perfectly ripe mango sticky rice for 60 baht, a vibrant, face-meltingly spicy samtum green papaya salad for just 50 baht. You can grab smoky, caramelized grilled pork skewers for 20 baht each.
That is the ultimate traveler dream right there. World-class food for pocket change.
Definitely.
But then you have track two, the Western and wellness economy, heavily concentrated up in that Srithanu bubble.
Exactly. And the economic contrast is aggressive.
Give me an example.
Let's take that exact same 50 baht green papaya salad from the night market. If you order that exact same dish in a beachfront, architecturally stunning bamboo cafe in Hong Kong, it will cost you 250 baht.
5 times the price.
Standard mid-range dining on this Western track will consistently run you anywhere from 400 to 800 baht per person per meal.
So the obvious question, the one every single budget-conscious traveler asks is the food on track 2 actually 5 times better? If I'm paying a 400% markup, am I getting a 400% increase in flavor?
From a purely culinary flavor profile standpoint, absolutely not.
Interesting.
In fact, it's often toned down and stripped of its authentic spice to cater to Western palates.
Ah, right.
You're paying a premium for the curated bamboo aesthetic, the reliable Wi-Fi, the English-speaking staff, and the unobstructed sea view.
The ambiance.
Exactly. However, it is vital to note that there is one major invisible factor you are buying on track 2. Rigorous Western hygiene standards.
Ah, the stomach tax.
Precisely. For a first-time visitor who just flew in from London or New York, whose stomach is not at all acclimated to the local microbiome or the spice levels, paying that premium offers genuine, necessary peace of mind.
That is completely fair.
You are buying the ironclad assurance that your salad was washed in commercially purified water, that the ice is safe, and that the meat has been continuously refrigerated. For many people, avoiding a 3-day bout of food poisoning is well worth the 400% markup.
That makes perfect sense. It's basically an insurance policy.
Exactly.
And what's fascinating is that this 2-tier system extends right past the restaurants and straight down into the grocery stores. If you are staying long-term, say renting a villa for a month, you have 2 distinct choices for stocking your fridge.
Right.
You can go to Top Supermarket, which is the premium Western imported store. It is gloriously, aggressively air-conditioned. The aisles are spotless, but you will pay a massive premium for the familiar.
Oh, yeah.
A small block of imported cheddar cheese, shipped halfway across the world, is 250 baht. A standard bottle of banana boat sunscreen is an eye-watering 450 baht.
Or you cross the economic divide and you go shop at Macro.
The where?
Yes. This is the massive, cavernous, wholesale warehouse where the local Thai restaurant owners and the smart, deeply entrenched long-term nomads shop. You are buying in bulk in a much more chaotic environment.
But the prices?
The math is undeniable. Chicken breast at Tops is 140 baht a kilo. At Macro, it's 90 baht a kilo. You can buy fresh, whole coconuts for 25 baht instead of the 80 baht they charge at the beach.
That's a huge difference.
Shopping at Macro is literally the only way to make a long-term villa stay financially sustainable without burning through your savings.
While we are hovering on the topic of food and dining, the researchers flag some incredibly crucial cultural etiquette that so many tourists, even well-meaning ones, are completely oblivious to.
This is so important.
Let's run through 3 major faux pas that will instantly disrespect the locals. Number 1, Never ever stick your chopsticks vertically into a bowl of rice and leave them there.
Right, the incense parallel.
Exactly. In Thai and wider Asian culture, vertical chopsticks strongly resemble the incense sticks burned at funerals to honor the dead. It is considered a terrible omen and deeply unsettling to see at a dining table.
Number 2 is about physical spatial awareness. Never use your feet to point at a dropped menu, to point at a product on the ground, or to push a chair out from a table.
Yeah, feet are a big deal.
In Thai Buddhist culture, the body is a hierarchy. The feet are considered the lowest, dirtiest, most profane part of the body. Pointing them at anything, especially a person or food, is a severe insult.
And that hierarchy leads perfectly to number 3. Never, ever touch a local vendor or any Thai person, including children, on the head.
Never.
Because the feet are the lowest, the head is considered the most sacred, spiritually high part of the body where the spirit resides. Touching it casually is a massive violation of boundaries.
Those are critical, non-negotiable signs of respect. And on the purely logistical side of dining etiquette, we need to talk about how tipping culture has rapidly evolved here.
Oh, good point.
In the local street food carts and Track 1 restaurants, tipping is not expected at all. You pay exactly what the sign says.
Keep it simple.
But in those Track 2, Western-facing cafes in Suratthanu, the culture has shifted dramatically due to the influx of Western tourists. Rounding up the bill or leaving a 10% tip is now absolutely expected by the staff.
Another thing that throws Westerners off is the serving rhythm. In Thai culture, dishes arrive at the table exactly when they are ready.
Yeah, don't wait.
They do not hold plates under heat lamps in the kitchen to ensure everyone at the table is served simultaneously. Your green curry might arrive a full 20 minutes before your partner's pad thai.
And people get so mad about that.
They do. Westerners often get frustrated thinking it's terrible service, but that is simply how a fresh-cooked woke kitchen operates.
Yeah.
You share the dishes as they arrive. You don't wait.
Okay, let's take all of this, the geography, the transport costs, the Track 1 versus Track 2 dining, and bring it together into real-world actionable numbers.
The actual budgets?
The researchers outline 3 distinct daily budgets to give you a stark reality check on what your money actually buys you on Ko Pha Ngan in 2026. Let's start at the bottom. Budget 1, the survivalist. This is pegged at 800 Fanja, or roughly 23 USD a day.
At $23.20 a day, your experience of the island is heavily physically restricted.
Very restricted.
You cannot afford a scooter, so your transport is miserable. You are either walking long distances along dusty roads in the sweltering heat, or you are struggling on a rented bicycle over mountainous, potholed terrain.
Exhausting.
Your diet is exclusively limited to Track 1 eating at the Fan Tip Night Market, or surviving on ham and cheese toasties from 7-Eleven. You aren't going to beach clubs. Your entertainment is basically sitting on the sand. The only saving grace of this budget is that all beaches on the island are legally free to access. But functionally, operating on this budget isn't a vacation, it's an endurance test.
It's exhausting, which is why Budget 2 is where most people aim, the comfort traveler.
This is the goal.
This bumps your daily spend up to 2,500 baht, or about 71 USD a day. This seems to be the mathematical sweet spot for the island.
It really is. That $71 unlocks what the researchers call the frictionless island experience.
Oh, absolutely.
It buys you a mid-range, air-conditioned bungalow so you can actually escape the humidity and sleep deeply at night. It easily covers a reliable 125cc scooter rental, which completely solves the transport crisis and gives you ultimate freedom.
Game changer.
And it leaves you enough disposable income for a daily indulgence, whether that is a 300 baht street-side Thai massage to fix your back after a flight, or a proper sit-down seafood dinner on the beach. You are comfortable, you are mobile, and you are safe.
And finally, you have Budget 3, the splurger. This starts at 6,000 baht, or roughly $170 USD, and scales infinitely upwards per day.
Sky's the limit.
At this economic level, you are entirely insulated from the chaos of the island. You aren't dodging potholes. You are booking private, cliffside, or beachfront villas. You are spending your afternoons lounging at high-end, curated sunset beach clubs like Blue Rama. And crucially, when you want to explore, you aren't renting a scooter or fighting the taxi cartel. You are chartering private long-tail boats to take you to hidden coves, completely bypassing the road network entirely.
It is a totally different island at that price point. You aren't even participating in the same reality as the survivalist.
Not at all.
But exploring these budgets raises a really important psychological issue about expectations. Because whether you are a budget backpacker sweating on a bicycle or a luxury traveler on a private boat, Almost everyone who comes here is chasing an image they saw on Instagram.
And that is the most dangerous trap of all.
Yeah.
Because the Instagram version of Ko Pha Ngan is a heavily filtered, carefully cropped lie.
Oh, this is genuinely my favorite part of the entire dossier. The researchers dedicated an entire section to shattering these illusions.
We have to talk about these.
Let's break down the reality of these famous spots, starting with illusion number 1, the full moon party. The global hype, the marketing engine, sells this as a neon-soaked, carefree, beautiful tribal festival on a pristine beach under the stars. What is the physical reality?
The physical reality of Hadrin Beach during a full moon is claustrophobic, dirty, and intensely chaotic.
Just a mess.
You have 20,000 highly intoxicated bodies crammed onto a relatively narrow stretch of sand. You are constantly looking down, dodging broken glass in the dark. You are literally stepping over tourists who have passed out in the tide line from drinking 400-baht plastic buckets of low-grade, unregulated local alcohol mixed with aggressive, syrup-thick energy drinks.
It sounds so stressful.
The auditory experience is a nightmare. The music from 10 different massive sound systems is clashing and overlapping into a wall of static. It feels significantly more like a tense survival scenario than a joyous party.
But the island does have incredible world-class nightlife. You just have to know where to look. You have to step off the heavily marketed path.
Yeah, the alternatives are so much better.
The authentic alternative, the researchers suggest, is the Seaboard Sunday Party up at Had Yao. It is the exact opposite vibe of the full moon. You get proper, deeply curated house music played through a tuned sound system. There are visible, highly professional fire shows that you can actually sit back and watch without being shoved. The crowd is slightly older, much more relaxed, actually there for the music. Entry is completely free, and best of all,
You can actually get home.
yes. When you are finally tired at 2 a.m., it is a flat, perfectly paved, 5-minute scooter ride back to your hotel instead of a terrifying mountain transit.
That brings us to illusion number 2, Secret Beach, locally known as Hodson. The social media hype promises this pristine, isolated, hidden cove where you can escape the masses and commune with nature.
And the reality.
The depressing reality is that the secret died over a decade ago when it was tagged on a map. If you go there today, by 11:00 a.m., that tiny strip of sand is completely overrun.
Just packed.
The water, which looks crystal clear in photos, is actually cloudy from the sheer volume of chemical sunscreen washing off hundreds of tourists. And you will be trying to relax while listening to 3 different overlapping Bluetooth speakers blasting competing Spotify playlists. It is the definition of over-tourism in a micro-environment.
It sounds awful. It's the exact opposite of what you traveled to an island to find. So where do we go instead to find that actual isolation?
The authentic, data-backed alternative is Sansadet National Park. Now, getting here requires actual effort, which is exactly why it remains pristine.
Ah, a natural filter.
Exactly. It acts as a natural filter. You have to hire a 4x4 truck to navigate the incredibly steep, unpaved terrain. It costs about 1,500 baht for the round trip, plus a 100 baht government entry fee.
But it's worth it.
But the payoff is immense. You find yourself in deep, cool, emerald green water where the raw, ancient jungle canopy physically reaches out over the sea. There are no beach clubs. There are no Bluetooth speakers. It feels completely prehistoric and entirely isolated.
Let's hit illusion number 3, the Zen Beach Sunset. If you look online, this is billed as a transcendent, deeply spiritual drum circle experience on the sand as the sun dips below the horizon. It looks like the ultimate bohemian gathering. The reality.
The reality is a circus.
It is an absolute circus. It is packed shoulder to shoulder with influencers aggressively fighting for tripod space in the shallow water. You spend your evening dodging people, filming choreographed TikTok dances, and the drum circle feels more like a staged photo op than a spontaneous musical gathering. It is peak performative spirituality.
The fix for this is so wonderfully simple and drastically cheaper.
What's the fix?
You skip the performative circus of Zen Beach entirely, and you drive slightly south to the Amsterdam Bar viewpoint. Or better yet, you just park your bike at the Hing Kong Mudflats.
Right.
You walk into the 7-Eleven across the street and grab a 60-baht cold beer. You park your scooter for free.
Oh.
As the tide goes out over the mudflats in the late afternoon, the shallow water creates a perfect, mile-wide, mirror-like reflection of the sky.
That sounds beautiful.
You get to sit on the seawall in total peace and watch the sky turn these violent, incredible, bruised shades of orange and pink. And you don't have to perform for anyone's camera.
So what does this all mean? when we line up these heavily marketed illusions against the authentic alternatives, a very clear pattern emerges. It seems like the harder you try to force the perfect Instagram-ready Ko Pha Ngan experience, the more miserable and stressed you are going to be.
That is precisely the core takeaway from the lived experience data. The friction comes from trying to script the trip.
Right.
The best, most memorable moments on this island almost always happen entirely by accident, usually miles away from the neon body paint and the curated bamboo photo ops. The real magic of travel isn't successfully fighting for space at Zen Beach so you can post a photo. It's getting caught in a sudden, violent monsoon downpour, pulling your scooter off the road under the rusting tin roof of a tiny, unnamed roadside shack,
Yeah.
and eating the absolute best, most complex massaman curry of your life while the rain hammers the metal above you and the owner just smiles at you. It is the unscripted, unphotographed moments that actually deliver on the promise of the island.
I absolutely love that. It's the texture of real travel. But before we get totally swept up in the romance of tin roof curries and hidden jungles, we have a responsibility here.
Yeah, we have to keep people safe.
We have to deliver the final verdicts on who should actually visit this place and how they should do it. And to do that responsibly, we have to address the profoundly unglamorous, highly serious realities that can prematurely end a trip or worse. We have to talk about safety, health, and bureaucracy.
The heavy stuff.
Let's start with physical safety. What are the actual statistical dangers of existing on Ko Pha Ngan?
Let's dispel a major anxiety-inducing myth right up front. Violent crime against tourists is exceptionally rare here. You are highly unlikely to be mugged.
That's good to know.
The real statistical danger, the thing that genuinely puts tourists in the hospital every single day without fail, is the road network.
The scooters.
The blunt force trauma from crashing a rented 150cc scooter on a steep, sand-covered mountain pass genuinely rivals casualty rates in minor conflict zones. People vastly underestimate the physics of these roads.
Because they're on vacation.
They arrive, they've never ridden a motorcycle in their life, they rent a powerful machine, and they overestimate their abilities on roads that have random batches of loose gravel, sheer drops, and blind corners.
And if you do misjudge that corner and crash, the medical tier system on the island is a very stark, very expensive reminder of exactly where you are in the world. Let's say you suffer standard road rash. You slide out and tear up your arm and leg. If you want Western standard care with English-speaking doctors, you go to the first Western hospital. But the moment you walk through those doors, a simple emergency visit just to have your wounds professionally cleaned, disinfected, and bandaged will immediately cost you around $430 USD. Out of pocket. And that's just the top tier. The mid-tier option is the Bangkok Hospital Samui Clinic, which is highly capable for diagnostics and stabilization.
Right.
But if you're on that survivalist budget, you are going to end up at the Ko Pha Ngan Government Hospital. Now, medically, they are highly competent at treating trauma because they see it every day. And it is incredibly cheap, around 500 baht for treatment.
But there's a catch.
But the massive, often insurmountable language barrier, combined with agonizingly slow triage times because they are understaffed, makes it a highly stressful, deeply frightening experience when you are bleeding and in pain. Aside from the trauma of the roads, there are insidious environmental and health factors you have to manage daily. Let's talk about water. Never, under any circumstances, brush your teeth with tap water. Always use bottled. But people always ask, what about the ice in my drinks? Do I have to drink warm beer?
No, you don't. The rule of thumb for ice is simple. Only accept tubular ice with a hole right in the middle.
That specific shape is the key.
That specific shape indicates it was factory-produced on the mainland from commercially purified water and shipped in. If you see crushed ice or jagged blocks, avoid it entirely.
Good tip.
Secondly, dengue fever is endemic here, especially during the wetter months. It is an excruciating viral infection. The researchers recommend a very specific localized fix. Skip the expensive, weak herbal sprays.
They don't work.
Walk into any 7-Eleven and buy the Sofo brand mosquito spray with the pink lid. It costs 45 baht. It contains 12% EET. It smells vaguely of roses, and it is highly effective at keeping the mosquitoes away.
We also need to highlight specific security warnings that the data flagged for different demographics. At the moon parties down south, drink spiking is a recognized, statistically significant threat. You cannot leave a drink unattended, ever.
Never.
If you are a solo female traveler, You need to be acutely aware that riding a scooter on the unlit interior roads at night makes you vulnerable, not necessarily to people, but to the large packs of stray dogs that roam the island.
They get aggressive.
They become highly territorial and aggressive after dark, and they will chase scooters. And if you are traveling with children, the ocean itself is a massive hazard. During the transitional monsoon months, there are vicious, invisible rip currents that pull straight out to sea.
Yeah, that's scary.
And on the west coast, extreme low tides expose jagged, razor-sharp coral reefs just inches below the surface that will shred a child's feet.
And then finally, there is the bureaucratic hazard, the thing that breaks people's spirits, the visa-run burnout.
Oh, this is the worst.
Tourists who fall in love with the island and want to stay longer than their initial 30-day stamp often fall right into this trap. They ask around and someone tells them, oh, just pick a quick border run.
Quick is the biggest lie in Southeast Asia. Let me describe what actually happens. You pay an agency 3,500 baht. You are woken up at 5 a.m. You are shoved into a cramped minivan with 11 other grumpy tourists.
And the horrible.
The driver cranks the air conditioning to a violently cold temperature and drives like a maniac for 14 hours straight, all the way down to the Malaysian border at Saitan, forces you to walk across a bridge, get a stamp, and drives you 14 hours back. It doesn't just ruin a day, it leaves you physically wrecked and exhausted for 3 days afterward.
It's totally unnecessary trauma. The fix for that is so crucial for long-term stays. Do not leave the island. You can handle it locally.
Where do you go?
Go to the official Thong Sala immigration office right there on Ko Pha Ngan. You show up at 8:30 a.m. sharp. You bring 1,900 baht in exact cash, 2 passport photos, and printed copies of your documents. You sit in a waiting room for an hour, and they will legally extend your visa for another 30 days. You never have to set foot in a mainland minivan.
Okay, we have covered a staggering amount of ground. We've mapped the fractured geography, detailed the cartel traps, explored the hyper-inflated budgets, and navigated the medical and bureaucratic hazards.
It's a lot.
It is time for the final verdicts. Based on the totality of this localized data, is Ko Pha Ngan actually worth it in 2026? We're going to run through the specific traveler types. Let's start with the survivalist, operating on that tight 800 baht a day budget.
For the strict budget backpacker, the verdict is a hard, unequivocal no.
Wow, okay.
If you're on a tight budget, the sheer scale and transport logistics of this massive island will completely crush you financially and physically. You should immediately pivot your plans and take the ferry one stop over to Koh Tao instead.
Why Koh Tao?
Koh Tao is vastly smaller, highly walkable, and it has an incredible, deeply ingrained dive culture. You can easily find fantastic hostel beds for 350 baht, and because you can walk everywhere, you completely eliminate the need to rent a scooter or deal with the predatory taxi mafia. Your money goes twice as far.
Verdict 2. The comfort traveler, operating on that sweet spot of 2,500 baht a day.
The verdict for the comfort traveler is yes, but it comes with a massive, non-negotiable condition attached. You must be a competent, confident motorcycle rider.
Okay.
If you can safely ride a scooter, you should absolutely book a mid-range bungalow up in Hat Yao or Hin Kong, and you will have a phenomenal, culturally rich trip.
And if they can't ride?
If you cannot ride a scooter, the taxi cartel will eat your entire daily budget just getting you to the beach and back.
Yeah.
If you don't ride, you should pivot your trip entirely to Koh Lanta on the Andaman coast, which features flat roads, significantly cheaper localized prices, and a much more peaceful, regulated transport infrastructure.
Verdict 3. The luxury traveler with no real budget ceiling.
Absolutely, yes. If you have the capital, the cliffside architecture in Thong Nai Pan rivals the very best 5-star resorts in heavily developed places like Koh Samui or Phuket, but it offers significantly more privacy and exclusivity.
Makes sense.
Paying that massive premium effectively buys you a shield. It entirely insulates you from the logistical chaos, the cartels, and the grime of the rest of the island.
Verdict 4. Families traveling with children. Now, this one was fascinating because it was actually heavily disputed by the researchers who compiled the dossier.
Yes, Phil and H fundamentally disagreed on this demographic.
Really? What was the argument?
The argument against bringing families is incredibly strong. There are virtually no paved sidewalks anywhere on the island, meaning pushing a stroller is practically impossible and incredibly dangerous with the traffic. Furthermore, the medical infrastructure is extremely limited for handling serious pediatric emergencies.
That sounds like a hard no. What was the counter-argument?
The counter-argument is that it can work beautifully, but only if you follow a very strict, expensive formula. You must book a private villa in the north. You must rent a private car rather than relying on dangerous scooters, and you must restrict your beach time strictly to the calm, shallow, kid-friendly waters of Mayhad, avoiding the rip currents elsewhere.
And finally, verdict 5, digital nomads looking for a base.
A resounding, enthusiastic yes. The island's infrastructure has evolved almost forcefully, specifically to cater to this exact demographic. You have incredibly fast 100 Mbps 5G connectivity across almost the entire island via true 5G or AIS networks. The dedicated co-working spaces, especially hubs like La Casa Tropicana in Hong Kong, are heavily equipped with Starlink arrays and robust dedicated diesel generators.
Essential.
That power backup is vital because standard mid-range bungalows routinely lose grid power for hours during monsoon storms. Plus, the expat community in Srithano is so deeply entrenched and organized that you will plug into a supportive social network immediately upon arrival.
So let's wrap this massive journey up. We started at the chaotic, diesel-choked, overwhelming Thong Sala Pier, dodging the laminated maps of the taxi cartels.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
We navigated the sheer drops and stray dogs of the mountain roads, learned exactly how to bypass the passport extortion scam with a 4K video, and we successfully escaped the neon-soaked, claustrophobic nightmare of the full moon party to finally find the hidden, prehistoric emerald waters of Thon Sadet. We traced the economic fault lines of the island all the way from the 80-butt plastic chair curries to the Starlink-powered, Palo Santo-scented, hyper-inflated cafes of Srithanu.
We have dissected a massive amount of data today.
Yeah, we really have. And to you, the listener, the ultimate overarching takeaway from this entire dossier is that the gap between a miserable, stressful, bank-breaking trip and the absolute trip of a lifetime on this specific island comes down entirely to arming yourself with geographical and chronological data. It is entirely about knowing exactly which of the two economies you are participating in at any given moment and refusing to be a passive participant in the logistics.
Which naturally raises a much broader, highly important question, and it is something I really want to leave you with today.
Okay, let's hear it.
As digital nomadism and global geo-arbitrage continue to accelerate at a breakneck pace, literally terraforming these once remote, sleepy islands into highly curated, aggressively two-tier ecosystems, does the concept of the authentic travel experience still exist anywhere?
Wow, yeah.
Or are we, as modern, hyper-connected travelers, simply scrolling through a global menu, choosing which socioeconomic bubble we want to financially buy our way into for a week? Are we looking for authentic culture, or are we just looking for our own culture, exported and served on a tropical beach?
That is a genuinely heavy, provocative thought to mull over. Think about that the next time you see a flawless, supposedly untouched, perfectly color-graded beach sunset pop up on your social media feed. Because remember what we talked about at the very beginning of this deep dive, that $5 bamboo hut on the pristine beach, the romantic, carefree 90s backpacker dream?
It's gone.
The reality of standing on that exact same beach today might just cost you a $140 scooter extortion fee and a $12 bowl of lettuce to experience. Stay curious, stay relentlessly informed, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.